Hello, and welcome to the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. I'm Amanda Butland, your host and intuitive life coach.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Embrace Balance, Discover Joy podcast. Today, my special guest is Alicia Sanabria. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you with me today. Before we get started, though, with diving into talking about all that you do and who you are, would you mind sharing with us? I'm going to ask you my little icebreaker question. Would you mind sharing with us what hobby or activity brings you the most joy and why?
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for the invitation. Wow, there's a few, but definitely the first one that's going to come to mind is travel. Travel. It's just like the world is my oyster type of thing. The world is my playground, and I want to play. Even though I say that, it's actually quite work related for me. It's like
Okay.
the remembrance, going to new lands, which are really old lands, places I've been before in other lifetimes, in other spaces and time contingencies.
I love that. I love, travel is one of those things that is, just getting outside of like your current physical space and being able to experience like different peoples, different places. I love that. And I like what you said around just the remembrances too. Because sometimes you do, right? You go to a site or a place and you're like, this feels so familiar. Um, and I just love that you mentioned that. So thank you for sharing that. And let's dive right in because I'm excited to have you talk about, who you are and what it is that you do. Before we talk about what it is that you do, let's talk a little bit more about like, let's go back a little bit and maybe share with us, how you got here. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. I like to say it's lifetimes within a lifetime. And I just think we're from where I was born. So I was born in Cuba and I left as a very young girl. So within the formative 7 years of your life. And that can be quite an episode in one's existence where you're not going to see family members, extended family members for a really long time. Um, but then there was just so many things within those first 6 years of my life that were so formative for my person that I am today. And I didn't really realize it until I got to go back to Cuba as an adult, like 25 years later. Um, there's generosity, a giving of people that is pretty amazing for individuals that don't have a lot because of the system in the country. And then, as I like to say, the sea around islands are very special. There's just a lot of information in water. So that was always feeding my soul. When one wants to talk about places that people call fabled existences, those are still the memories, the cellular level of memory, of remembrance is in the water. So for me, I think I'm going to go back to travel, right? When you're like 5.5 and you get on a plane for the first time and you're going far and you're going to new worlds. And our trajectory was through Spain before getting to New York City, which is where I was raised. And that's a lot of difference right there in terms of times and places. I think also, not a think, but definitely another formative stuff is, there's a lot of things that happen in life. It's not always a play field. And in looking for my own healing, in looking for my own well-being in a holistic way, I was always kind of I was the guinea pig. I was working on myself. My studies, my profession is psychology, industrial organizational psychology. Whoa, that's what I studied. And then I worked within human resources for a long time, and it was about training and human development. And even there in the workplace, I was looking for women leaders, leading women's groups. So one thing progressed to another, progressed to another. The leaving, the going toward, and then it's like the finding myself, my essence, my soul, within all of this outside structure telling me how I should be, look, wear, profession that I should have. And it just kept shifting. And for me, psychology is something that, there's just certain professions. I'm like, if you have that as a base, you're really good to go. Then I started looking at more holistic ways of working and alternative ways of working. It also was starting with me as a process, meditations and the gurus, I was in New York City, it was college age, early college. And then at some point in my life, going off to grad school, was in a PhD program at age 21. That did not work out, just to make the grade, it didn't work out. And then that was another major initiation of my life. And it's the return to New York and even digging deeper. I worked at an NGO that dealt with impoverishment and how to empower people. So again, here we go. This is all that I do. This is perfect. And it was really amazing for me to be, having come from a corporate background, to be in an environment where people were being of service, wanting to see change, knowing that one person can make a difference. And this was, oh my, I was just like a sponge, taking that all in. And I carry that with me till now. And I'm talking about doing this for a long time. I'm talking about 40 years ago, 35 years ago, but the path starting, like really define, like, wait a minute, there's more than that formula lived in, depending what country you're from. But the US model is very much, like the next step and the next step. Now people talk about gap years. That was not an option. It's like, go, 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 go. And you think about it, age 21 and in a PhD program. How could I possibly know what I want to do for the rest of my life? Right? But I did, actually, because I was reading psychology books since I was in grade school. So, and that is what I still do. It's just being able to develop as a person, to grow, to expand, to make it multidimensional. What multidimensional? Body, mind, soul, spirit got added next to that later on. And then I also say the ancestral component and beyond, because our bodies, our aura, our electromagnetic field is vast, it's wide, and we don't want to live in a little box of what society told me I should be and how I should do that.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I love sort of the journey from corporate for so long, but having that sort of that seed that was there, that you knew there was something more of the service when you got to the NGO, and just, getting a sense of like being of service to people, and then carrying that forward to where you are today and what it is that you do today. So now let's talk about that. I'm excited for you to share with our audience, what is it that you do today?
Well, as a transformational life coach and mentor, and those are different things, right? The coach,
yes, absolutely.
You're asking the questions, you're setting it up for them, you're setting plans, and then the mentor, because just about anything you can think of, guess what? I've done it. And I can provide guidance. And so it's about guiding. It's about facilitating and guiding. And again, those are different words. That's the main big puzzle. I bring various modalities, transformational modalities, holistic modalities, quantum healing modalities to it. So when I'm going to coach someone, we're going to be working together for a little while. The first thing that I do is actually an Akashic Records reading. Okay, those are some words I might not know. Akashic Records, it's the registry, the library of your soul. And whether you believe in reincarnation or not, you have lived before, you've had other lives, but the soul is a constant. The soul is a constant. So when we come into life and we experience certain things, it's really with divine plan for your growth. And it's not your growth person in this lifetime and in this framework, but your soul development. Part of that It's the family you choose to be born into. And then the family that chooses to accept you into this earth family, this dimension family. And that's where our biggest learning actually happens. That's why many of us have challenges in our or family of origin. We call it an
Right.
ancestral word,
Yeah.
family of origin. You know, we choose them. There could be a lot of, there's some words I don't like to use, but I'm just going to say it. There could be a lot of trauma. If we want to hang out to that trauma, we're going to live a life with that. And you know what? And we're also going to pass it on ancestrally. Back and forth. And it really kind of all around. There's no linear. We think we were taught linear. Those that came before, those that are yet to come, and the present, but it's really all happening at one time within the quantum physics field. And more, I like to say the scientists are catching up with the woo-woo. Just saw something the other day, and I was like, I didn't get to read the article. I hope I left it open in my phone. You know, that they've discovered there are portals and gateways to other planets and other ways of existing. And I'm like, oh, good, you're just making my work much easier.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Science is catching up. I also see the articles, the quantum physicists that are learning new things about how time works. Because you mentioned it not being linear, and you know we are told or taught that time is linear. But I think I saw an article not that long ago that talked about like, you know, time isn't, and it's maybe circular, or you can go back and forth and all the things. And so, yeah, absolutely.
I like to think of it as a spiral.
Spiral. Yeah, I like the spiral too. But I love what you said around just sort of how science is starting to catch up to the woo, because they are discovering new things every day around, you know, time, space, and all the things. And you know, even I think I even saw an article about like how there's this state between life and death, like there's something more, right? And just all those things. So fascinating.
It also gives us hope, because really I can at any moment tap into the better version of me. And that's really what the work that I propose to do as a coach and mentor is like, you know, you can be the best version of you right now in alignment with your divine purpose. And our divine legacy is about abundance. And then look at all the things that go through our mind, and especially for the healer types like me, you know, that the money is energy. That's it. It's nothing else. And you know what? Everything else is energy. So if it's energy, it's not tangible, we can really mold it. The alchemy comes in, the catalyzing, just add an element. What is a catalyst, right? What is it? What is that process in chemistry? I love the scientists. I would have been a scientist if I wasn't so social. I would have been talking to the elemental table. Like, no, what biology, love biology. And it's funny because I actually never took physics, and you're supposed to, I think, in high school. And here I am talking about quantum physics the whole time. And when I first started reading about this through a very famous person based out of the US, I would get a headache. I was so mental, and I would be like, what are you talking about? And now it's like, I'm just in it. We're all in it. But when you're in it and you know you're in it at the conscious level, not at the unconscious level where 95% of our existence is, then you can really start tapping into things. And there is where the magic exists. And magic does exist. It's not a hocus pocus thing. It's just.
Absolutely. I like, I can't remember, it was a quote from somebody that said something like, you know, magic is just science that people don't understand yet, right? I can't remember who it was that said that.
I don't know who said that, but that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And there's just so much being revealed now. The world, the veil between worlds, it's really kind of non-existent now. So if you want to tap into, and at the same time, because of that veil not really being there, we do see a lot of dis-ease coming up, right? I don't think there's disease. I don't see illness. It's dis-ease. The symptoms are pointing to something is out of alignment. And how do we pay attention to it? Usually we don't drug ourselves, pump us up with stuff, a bunch of exams, and not like, wow, let me take that in. Let me breathe into that. Let me quiet in my soul. Let me quiet in my existence and see where, because we all have spirit guides. We all have guides. We have angel guides. We have ancestral guides. What is the message? And then from an informed place, taking action,
Mm.
both with traditional allopathic medicine and so much else that's available there, and the bringing that balance to making sure that your well-being is
Yeah.
your priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that you brought that dis-ease, because that is sort of the root of the word disease, right? And it is usually some sort of misalignment, or uh, lack of alignment there. Um, I do want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier on, but before we sort of got into this conversation about science. um, you had mentioned part of what you do, and I love the distinction that you made around, coaching versus mentoring, because I think people don't often understand that. But you had said something else around quantum healing, and I was wondering if you would you mind sharing maybe a little bit more about what that is.
Wow, that's so many different things for so many different people. Okay. So what is quantum? Quantum is the smallest measure of something that exists thus far. When we understand that smallest measure, that means that in some way or other, we're all connected. We're connected to everything, to everything. So then that another saying that we woo types really love, we're all one. Well, we really are all one. So when we are all one and we're all interconnected, then one takes on a different consciousness of existence on this beautiful planet. I am as responsible for the soil. I am as responsible for the waters. I am as responsible, and not in a heavy sense of responsibility, but just like, we are connected. If you're well, I'm well. If I'm well, I want to emanate that to the rest. And with other humans, independent of what condition they are in. In terms of the quantum field, we can be working there in many, many, many different ways. From a column, we call them columns, or specifically wooded columns that are bringing in the energy from the crystalline center of Gaia, and we're going to move it up through our body, through our chakra systems, through our nadis, through our meridians. These are all energy points or channels through our physical body and the other bodies, and connect all the way. Most people know the central one, right? Which is like 13, 15 that are mentioned. Most people know 7. And then from that, start connecting higher chakras, 15, to other places and times, memory, remembrance of other existences that could be the stellar, the star guides. We have existed in other planes as well, so other dimensions, other planets. Planets are stars. And then connecting directly to source, divine source energy, how you call that, Buddha, God, Allah, goddess. And then bringing that energy back down and centering in that there is a spark of the divine in you. And when we really tap into that, then we get into that being able to tap into the magic. Specifically, I work with radionics. Radionics are sacred symbols. It can be sacred symbols, numbers, and they can be put on plaques. And they vibrate out. They send energy. Radio, what do radio waves do? They emanate the energy. And I also work with something called the Radionic Station Board, where this one's going to get really, really, so I won't go too deep into it. But again, in that time, space, contingency, linear, that doesn't really exist. You can be being treated for a certain condition, situation in your life, in your health, your profession, in your home space. Because with this, I can also do clearings of houses, businesses, etc. At the time, space contingency, because the guides, the spiritual team that does the work at an etheric level, not the physical. We're so into the physical, but there are other bodies outside of us, the first being the etheric level, kind of like energy, can tap into the best time space line for you that you can handle at any given time space where you are now for well-being. I will even dare to use the word healing. Healing is a really big word. The only person that can heal someone else is themselves. But we can facilitate various processes. And that's why for me, the coaching and mentoring part is so important. A lot of people just want treatments, you know, and they kind of put a lot of the stuff that I do is remote. So it's like, it's on you and, you know, you do it and I'm going to be continuing in the lifestyle that I'm living. And then what are you going to get? You're going to get the same results.
Yeah.
And that's for profession, that's for health, that's for relationships. So, you know, how are you being the protagonist in your own story? Your life is your own story. You get to tell it, you get to live it, you get to be it.
Yeah.
Does that answer you?
Yeah, it does. And it actually, interesting concept that you just mentioned around how people just want you to fix it, that they're not necessarily taking responsibility for their own journeys, their own paths, their own healing. And so I like that you brought that up, that, you know, you are the protagonist. You're the one that is instigating whatever it is that's happening in your life. And so, yes, you are a facilitator, you're a guide, you're helping people along the journey, but they still have to take action and do the things, right?
And it doesn't have to be a lot, because that's another thing. We're doing a lot of doing. And what my guides have been telling me for a long time, and it's just more evident, it's less doing,
more being.
Being.
Yeah.
And then when we get into the being, and someone's like, but I don't know my soul purpose. Well, then get a reading, get a Akashic record, and I'm here. There are others out there. And then you get into that flow. You get into that ease. It's not going against the current. It's just, you are the current. That's another quantum thing. We are the current. So if you get into that, and I mean, really the level of existence on the planet right now where everything is so rushed. A lot of it is me first. And we're seeing a level of violence that's pretty unbelievable. I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself. I have memories of other existences and other planes. And I think I brought that into this lifetime very clearly. There is another possibility for existence, kind of like the Eden. Maybe some people call it Eden because we're very more Christianized, but there are Nirvana. And how about if I just make my space and time here Nirvana every day? Turn off that TV if you have a TV. You shouldn't have a TV, but anyway. You know, I mean, because what is it? Just, it's feeding you, it's feeding you, it's feeding you. It's bringing in that fear. Fear is just awful for the physical body, for all of our bodies.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I've loved hearing sort of not just your journey, but like what it is that you do and all the pieces that you put together. Because you know, you mentioned the coaching, the life coaching, the mentoring, the I think you didn't use the word healing; it was something else. I mean, you said healing, but
we call it ancestral well-being as well. Ancestral
well-being,
yes.
Important.
We're also future-oriented, and we're going to repeat patterns. We're going to pass patterns different. So, and what's happening, especially people that will listen to this, people that will come into our field, you're the one. You're the chosen one in your family. And a lot of folks say to me, why do I have to do it? Why do I have to do it for all these people? Because you have the consciousness. Because the awareness reached you that this can be looked at. This can be moved. Some of the words that we use in ancestral things can be moved. And sometimes it's just honoring the name of someone that you don't even know, but you don't have to know their name. Or, you know, not raised in a household with a mother or with a father. But you could just tap into what that person was. It could be. And then the PowerPoints, the empowerment of that person, not what we tend to do, the negative. Love me. Like, okay, all right. You chose that existence.
Yeah, I like what you just mentioned there around, when people focus on what's actually happened to them, right? They got left, creates that sort of victim, um, feeling a victim, being the victim. And until they actually, right, like you said, empower themselves to then sort of not necessarily like, because I use the word responsibility, like taking responsibility for your life, but it's not like people often equate that with, oh, well, then it's my fault, right? They take it as fault, and it's not. There's no fault, right? It is just when we think about responsibility. When I use the word, when you probably use the same word, it's not. There's no fault there. It's just being able to take action, right, to make the change. That's your responsibility. That you actually have the ability to create the change in your life, and that there's no fault there. There's no blame. So I like that you bring that up because I think people often do equate fault with responsibility.
And it's not at all.
Hmm.
It was a happening, and I'm not making light of it because a lot of it is very heavy. But does it have you, or do you control the rest of your life?
Mm,
It's another one of
yeah.
those things that people get really, oh no, she's not going to do that, is she? The inner child work, we always have to be doing inner child work, and we always have to be doing ancestral work. It just is. Because we have to
Mm,
remember to take our child, that happy child, to play,
yeah.
to be, to live a life of that wonderment that children, when they see something and it's like the best thing in the world. It might be like a paper bag or something, but that's it. That's the center of their universe. Imagine walking around life like that.
Mm,
That
amazing. It would be amazing to walk
would
around in
be
life and wonder,
amazing.
right? Yeah.
It would be amazing. And sometimes my inner child takes over. In my office, I just look over in that direction, and there's the water, there's the bay, and and then I'm like, oh, look at that tree in the background. I'm like, okay, focus, but no, don't focus because that is the focus. Like the being alive, right? Because people are so afraid when they get a diagnosis and suddenly thinking about, oh my goodness, I might not be here much longer, because I'm not going to say the D word either. That's inevitable. But are you being alive right now? Are you
Mm,
taking advantage? Again, anyone that's going to be listening to this, you're like on the top 10% of the world in terms of wealth. You got a computer, you've got internet, you have time to be able to listen to this and just sit in that, like, yeah, yeah. Stop buying a bunch of stuff that then, you got so much credit card debt that you can't take a little trip. Just, just be. I mean, how many clothes do we need? How many pair of shoes do we need? Take that adventure. And adventure could be up, an hour away from where you live, getting on a train, getting on a bus, getting in your car. If you have a car, there you go. Oh, you're really good. So it's a choice in a conscious way of living your life and of existing and of being.
mm,
That's it. And I'm
mm.
not saying that I'm floating through life, but I have to bring myself back to that divine centered me and just like, oh, I want that spark to grow and grow and grow. And I'm kind of doing this here from the heart center, from the soul center of expansion, connection, and then
Mm.
bringing that in and feeling that I am part of a community and my community is quality.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you brought up community because that is so important. In today's, you mentioned like, right, in today's modern world, there's, fast pace. People sort of live in their little silos. Even family units, right? It used to be more community tribal based where, multiple families would live together sort of in communities. And now, everybody's in their little homes. And in some neighborhoods, people don't even know who their neighbors are, right? In some places. And so we've sort of lost that community, um, sense of community in a lot of places. So I like that you brought that up, how important that is to have
So
community support in your life.
there's an overwhelming sense of aloneness. And that's because at the soul level, you're getting little messages. Heed to this. Are you doing what you love? Are you being who you were born to be? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then people are retreating into self. Well, it's not even to self. If you retreat into self, that's actually good because you're going to connect. But into the cell phone, into the TV, into some sort of vice, into negativity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then one of the probably most poignant of lonelinesses is when you're surrounded or when you're in a relationship or you're in a family and you're like, I might as well be alone. And then how do you bring yourself out of that? Because if you're realizing that, then guess what? Again, tag, you're it. You're the one that's like, okay, now I got to strengthen myself, my inner being, my soul, my spirituality. And then it's like positivity is contagious. Love is contagious. Laughter, I love to laugh, is contagious. So
Absolutely.
if you have to like laugh by yourself and watch a funny movie or something so that you can emanate that, that's the vibration you put out. And watch in wonderment as you start seeing things change. Depression's a really big one right now. Depression and suicidal tendencies. And the moment you start feeling a little down, a little sad, take some action. Take some action. The day, I mean, everybody wakes up like, oh, that's a day that I put on the brightest clothes, turn up the music, and then another thing, and I know unemployment is also very big right now, go and do some volunteer work. Oh boy, when you do that, everything will change up. Because when you realize that other people are in some conditions that no one should be in certain conditions, then you realize how many blessings you really have. And when you tap into the blessings, into the joy, into the gifting and the giving, you're getting so much more in return. I have seen this a bazillion times. I've said this to folks. Oh, you know, go get some volunteer work. Then before you know it, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody showed up. I'm working and I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, all right, but you know, once a month or something, or a couple of times a month, continue doing that little volunteer thing because we can always give back.
Yeah, I love that. You know, that's my thing, like being of service, right? I love being able to give back. And so I love that you brought that up, but also the piece that you mentioned around when people do volunteer for people that are less fortunate, they actually then see what they actually have because you're right. When people are maybe unemployed or they're feeling down, they don't see the things that they actually have. They only see the negative. So to be able to see, you know, I'm not that bad off. I actually can do this, and there are people that are you know maybe not doing as well as I am. It provides that sense of maybe gratitude, and that's such a great place to be in, of feeling gratitude for what you have.
Gratitude, yeah. Another tip, you know, just keep a little gratitude journal every night before you go to bed. Just something you're grateful for that day, or you know, even better. And this is a little harder because people just jump up and want to get out to work and have their coffee. Like, do it in the morning. Take literally a 2 minute. Okay, you don't have time to write it down, then just say it in your head. I am grateful for another day of life, that I'm waking up. I have a bed. I have a home. I'm going to just have my breakfast. You are setting up your day. You are speaking blessing and blessings into your day. How can you go wrong?
Yeah.
It's that mindset. And I see it. I see it with fellow healers, colleagues, you know, and it says a thing for healers and coaches. You know, we often think we know everything, right? Oh, I'm going to heal myself. Well, you know, we need to see other people as well. No one is a, you know, one-stop shop type thing. There's a perspective that you might not be able to have that only someone else, which is really what coaching is, right? To get you through for me, coaching is about really igniting that abundance, but abundance at all levels: health, Yes, the financial abundance, the love, the self-love. And it's kind of like a dance through life of possibility. So whether your thing is, I need more money and I want more money, and my goal is, like $1 million, I tend to really not work those kind of folks. I tend to work with folks that they're okay financially. And then the soul yearning is like, I got the house, I got the thing, I got the relationship, the job is good. I'm just about ready to step away from this thing and maybe do something independently, or I'm just about ready to put this down and have other people run it for me. I have some time. And that's where it's like, oh, that's for me, that's the ideal person, right? It's like, oh gosh, do we have some plans? Because I am a little bit of a Robin Hood. Is that Robin Hood? And I won't say take from the rich to give to the poor, but more like, let's integrate that. And how can we be a partnership and really start changing up lives, really empowering, really putting people through programs that will get them employed, will get them growing their own vegetables, whatever it is, but out of these situations that just doesn't work for humanity. Again, the quantum field, we are all connected. If it's happening to one, it's happening to you. It's happening to me. It's happening to you. So I want to tap into the better version of me. And it's work. I have to work at that every day.
Yeah.
It's not easy work.
It's not, you're right. It's not easy work, but it is amazing work. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I do want to start to wrap up. We've had such a great conversation today. But before we go, do you have any final words for our audience today? Any words of wisdom? Anything you'd like to share?
I think I'm going to go back to, this is one of my end-all phrases. Your divine legacy is abundance. And you get to define what the abundance is for you, or which one you want to focus on in life. You're not alone, and you're here to share and shed and emanate your light.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yes, share that light, spread the light, shine your light. So thank you so much again, Alicia, for being with me today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Amanda, you're just such a great listener and integrator. I'm going to have a couple of gifts also for those that get to listen to this, and you'll be popping them on the down below. And one is an ancestral healing reflection and meditation, and the other one is a wellness journal for a life of ease and flow.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing those free gifts. And for those that are interested in taking a look at those, the links are in the show notes.
I invite you to subscribe to the Embrace, Balance, Discover Joy podcast and join our community. If you feel inspired by what you hear, please leave a review and share this podcast with others who might benefit. And remember, it's never too late to embrace balance and discover joy in your life. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes filled with inspiring stories and valuable insights. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.